Are we recording already? Were we? I never thought, come on. Is it? Oh, we're going. Alright, cool. We're cooking with gas. Alright, well, welcome to this. So this video is going to be all about how to make all the different graphs we're going to be doing using Excel. I'm going to then redo this graph. I'm going to do a different video using Google Sheets instead. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to teach you how to use a pivot table. Okay? So to do a pivot table, what you're going to want to do when you're given some data like this, now, of course, the ones in the book aren't going to be this much data, so some of them are going to already be summarized. But in the real world, that doesn't happen. In the real world, you're going to get a giant old data set like this, and you're going to just have to, summarize it somehow yourself. So you're going to highlight the data like I've done here. And there's, I think, 1,000 points in this data set. Oopsie daisy, come back, you hippie. Oopsie daisy. Right there. You're going to go to Insert, Pivot Table. Okay. And you're going to get a situation that looks most of the time exactly like this in Excel. That's kind of how it's done. Now, let's say I want to take a look at, the kids' math classes. Okay. And so what I'm going to do is put math class on the rows and math class in the values. And the default, since it's like Algebra 1, Algebra 2, is to count how many of each that there are. And so, boom, there they are. Now, you could break it out by, gender as well if you like. Something like this, and it'll split it out by gender. It's up to you. So, that's our first one. Now, if I'm going to do this, I'm just going to make for instance, a bar chart. So, insert, column graph. Boom. Yay, and the crowd goes wild. I will hammer you if there are not, oopsie daisy, good titles. So this is, math classes of students or whatever. As long as it's, we can understand what it is you're talking about, that's awesome. In this version of Excel, it's under layout. You can change everything you need to do, axes, titles, chart titles, what have you. Okay? The later ones have a plus sign right here. You click on a plus sign right here, and then you can get to all this same information, but it's hiding underneath of the plus sign. And that's the latest models like that. If you don't like this right here, you can change it. If you want to change the color of these, you can kind of go nuts here. I don't know, right here you can change the color of the bars if that makes you happy. You can change them one at a time if that makes you happy. Please don't spend an hour doing that because I don't care about that. I will not mark you right if your work is, if the thing is lousy, but you spend an hour customizing the website, it's not gonna. Yay, that's neato, but I'm not gonna care. Okay, so it's whatever. Now that's just a straight column or a straight up column or bar graph, and that's lovely. A lot of times we want to do it a little bit differently than that. And so something else that we will do is what's called a Pareto chart. And so you're going to know about this by the time we get there. So to do a Pareto chart, we're going to change it up a little bit. I just copy the data down to here. So if you copy it, and then you come up here to sort and filter, custom sort, make sure they're all highlighted before you do this part. If you sort by column B, from largest to smallest. And now, notice that this is not attached to this data. So I'm going to do another chart. And this time when I get it, I will get the same chart, but arranged in this case from highest to lowest order. Okay? And there we go. And actually this is in an order that makes sense for me because when I look at a graph, or when I look at my high school, they go Algebra 1, Algebra 2, or Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, Pre-Calculus. Again, if you go to Layout, you can click on Chart Title, boom. Insert the title right there. Okay? And again, change it to your heart's content. Okay, this is a Pareto chart. This is a bar chart. Okay. Now, what else can we do with this data? Well, my nose. I'm going to do something else here this time. Let's see what you think about it. Oh, shut up. No, I don't want to replace it, you idiot. Okay, there. Ignore what's down here. Okay, now, What I'm going to do is I'm going to put gender as a label. I can do it a couple of different ways. I can do it like this, gender and math class. And then I can just put the count of math class or gender over there. It wouldn't matter either way. And so what I've done this way is I've stacked it so the females are on top and then the males. I could also put gender on the columns like this and have it broken out like so. Either way will work. Excuse me. Either way will work. It's just really up to you how you want to do it. Now, when I get that done, there is a way to do it from right here. I find that sometimes it's a little annoying, so I just copy that data, paste it somewhere else. It's not really important where you paste it. Okay? But if you highlight this data like so, go to Insert, Column Graph, what you end up with is a stacked or a back-to-back bar chart. Okay? And the legend off to the side tells you the females are the blue ones and the males are the red ones and so forth. And of course, this has no title, so you want to go to layout and chart title. But this will be like math classes by gender or something. Something along those lines, and away we go. And the crowd goes wild. Okay, now what else can we do with that data? Well, let's get rid of that data too. Oopsie daisy. Click back on here, and again, let's pull some of this mess out. Just restart over. Ah, my nose. What if I want to do sport and sport? And what I'm going to have here then is I can do pie chart simply by doing one of these, one of those. Okay, pie charts are big in terms of again, percentages we talked about. So sport participation or something, I don't know, whatever this data is supposed to be talking about. But we want to know about so I'm going to add data labels, and the default is the number. I don't want the number, so I'm going to go to Format Data Labels. I don't want the number, I want percentages instead. Boom. Now, if the pie is really small, you can drag this out to the side. If it's a really skinny piece of pie, like for instance, let's say this one was, I can change it, can I? I can't. Okay, leave me alone. But if this was not in a pivot table piece, and the pie was too small to see like this was like 1% or something, I could pull it out here. This is called leader lines. I can pull it out. I can see what's up. This is for your own benefit. If you were doing a presentation and you wanted to highlight this, if you click on the pie once, the whole pie is highlighted. If you click on a pie if you click on this piece, here, let's try it again. If you click on the whole pie and then you click on this piece again, it's just this piece, and then you can pull that piece out and highlight it. For presentation purposes, sometimes I'll do that if I want people to actually see this piece. Look at that, 32% of our kids, whatever it is, okay? But in this case, maybe I don't really care. So most of the time I leave it like this. I really hate, as a matter of fact, three-dimensional pies, which I chose 2D pie. Some people like these 3D pies. I find them obnoxious. And the reason for that is, and you can twist them around, well, anyway, sometimes these pies, yeah, it looks a little more like, sometimes, let's see, there's a rotation to that somehow. 3D rotation, yeah. Some people will do it like this, and then you're like, oh, where did it go? Oops. Oh, come on, give me the whole pie, stupid. Right click, 3D rotation. Oh, I want the Y. I want this one here. So, yeah. So, oh look. Oh, yeah, 7 degrees. So then it's on the side. It's hard to tell, right? So you can kind of see how this works. But so some people kind of go nuts on this, and then it looks a little odd. Like the way it's tilted, it looks like that green piece is a huger piece than it is, and so it's a little annoying. Whereas the 32 looks small. I really hate 3D pies because you can really screw with people. So I like 2D pies. So we're going to keep it with that. Okay. All right. So bar charts, pie charts, Pareto charts. Pareto again, just highest to lowest is the only difference with that. Okay. Another kind of graph that we'll look at are time series graphs, where we have time and then something like population or something. Highlight the data. Again, we're looking for a trend. That you think you want line, but you don't want line. You want a connected scatter plot. And I like one of these two personally. Okay, but the idea is it'll graph it and it'll put the first column on the x-axis, so times on the bottom, and then up the side over there is the population or whatever it is. You can click on this and get rid of it if you like. Again, up here you can do axes titles. So primary vertical, and I want it rotated maybe, and I say, okay, I want this to say population Waitsburg, Washington, right? I don't know. And that's kind of silly because there was more than 100, still more than 100 people there, but whatever, it's fine. And then down here you can put in there, years, so you could axes titles, not axis titles, axis titles. Yeah, primary horizontal below, year, whatever, and then of course you make sure you give yourself a chart title and population Waitsburg, whatever, I don't know, something like that. Now you're like, well, what if there was two populations? So there's Waitsburg and then there's Dayton, a close competitor town. Oops. Or, population of sheep, population of wolves, whatever, I don't know. Oh, why did that say that? What happened there? Stop it. And so what you can do in this situation is you want to get rid of this. You just highlight them all. It will treat the first one as X, and these are each Y's. So again, it's insert scatter plot. Boom! And you're thinking, well, could I do more? Well, yeah, I can. So what you can do is a couple things. So first of all, you can right-click Insert, and you can put the town up on top. And then the year over here, like Sue. And then this time I'm just going to go ahead and just insert it again because it's just easier just to start over than it is to what? And so down here, it puts years on the x-axis like I mentioned previously. It labels which line's which so that you can follow along easier and see what's happening. Okay. Now, it's possible that the one set of data is way bigger than the other set. So bear with me while I blow these ones up. I think this is kind of a big deal. Oops. You can't hardly see what's happening in Waitsburg. It looks flat. That's because their points are so different. So what you can do is click down here on this guy. Okay, and make sure you highlight the actual points like that. And it says Format Data Series. And you can graph it on a secondary axis. So it's graphing Waitsburg on this side and Dayton on the other side. So now you have to be a little careful which one's which. So what you want to do then is come up here to Layout, and you want axes titles, and you want primary vertical. So that's this side, and this was Dayton. And then this side over here, is the secondary vertical axes. And then, of course, it's Waitsburg. Oops. Again, this is Waitsburg, so just label it as such. Okay, and there you go. Now, that's one way to do it. Other times, it'll be a situation more like it was. It could be the number of stuff and then the percentage of a population. Well, of course, percentages only go 0 to 100, but the actual numbers of people could be huge. And that's a situation where you might graph percentages on one side and you might graph, actual values on the other side. That's how people can actually read and see which one's which. Okay. So that's kind of cool. Again, they're both, no matter how you slice it, the time series graphs. And oh, be careful. Again, I want to see a chart title on this thing. And again, one that makes sense. So, population, population, or what have you. Okay. Probably a little more descriptive than that, but good enough for now. All right, and then the last one I want to do tonight is histograms. And a histogram looks like so. So I'm going to copy this data. Of course, you'll be given this data, obviously, in the book. And so it's not going to be that much data. You won't have to do that much data because they'll give you like 10 or 15 possible numbers. But what I'm showing you is, okay, here are some numbers. Let's go nuts with this thing and graph it. Now, clearly, when I make a graph of data like this, I'm going to have to group them, right? So, numbers between this and this, numbers between this and this, numbers between this and this. And that's easy enough to do and pretty straightforward. But how to go about that's the tricky part sometimes. So, again, sort and filter, custom sort. Notice my data has headers. It does because weight's up there. It looked at that and goes, oh, that's a word, so, okay. So I'm going to sort by weight, and I'm going to sort it by, I'm going to do it largest, smallest to largest. Cool, boom. So my smallest person is 68 pounds. My heaviest person is 245. So that gives me a distance or a range of 177. Okay? Now, traditionally, as I've mentioned in the other video, we use 5 to 7 bars, typically, because that gives me a middle bar. So if I divide, let's say, by 5, that means they're roughly 35 apiece. So I'm going to count. I'm just going to say I'm going to count by 40s. You always have to round up, no matter what this number comes out to be. Even if it's a whole number, you want to round up. And I don't like to just round up to 36 because that's a weird number to count by. Okay, I want to round up to a number that is, normal-ish. So I'm going to go 40 maybe. So how this works in Excel is I'm going to highlight this data. Now you're like, well, this same data, Mr. Grimm, is R or J. Sorry for what class I was teaching. The same data is already in over here in the pivot table, wherever one of these pivot tables is. So what I could have done, I could have just done this. Put height here. Yes. And, oh, I'm sorry, I meant height. Darn it, I meant height. Let's get rid of weight. Let's try that again. And put height here. Yes. Oh, look, it says sum of height. I don't want sum of height, you idiot. I want count of heights. So tell me how many people are 60 inches tall, 61 inches tall, and so on. Oh, I did want weight, didn't I? Beg pardon. One moment, please. See if I can do it right this time. Okay. My point is I could have done it from here as well, but I'm pulling it out because I think it's easier so I don't have to work on it that way. Now, so again, here's my data over here. I can just insert a pivot table. You see from right here, it's a different pivot table. And the only thing in this guy is just weight. So from here, we're the same. So whether I'm on that other one or I'm here, we're the same. But here's where it's different. Or they're both the same, but here's where the going gets tough. Right here, each weight pretty much is like there's a 95 pounder. There's 2 of them. There's one 93 pounder. I don't want to make a bar for every weight. I want to group them. I'm going to click on, so I'm going to come over here, I'm going to right click on one of these values in the left hand column, go to group, and I'm going to start at a value that's less than my smallest number being 68. Okay, I'm going to start at a number less than that. But I'm going to start at a number, not only is it less than that, but is a 1 decimal place smaller. So the trick is to go something like this. I'm going to type in 65.5. Now, when I count by 40, what's going to happen? Well, if I count by 40, it's going to go 65.5 to 105.5. there's nobody that weighs 105.5 pounds. So that means they're either be in one column or the other column. So that's where you take care of that business. So check both of these boxes off. It'll start at 65.5. It'll count by 40s. And there we go. So 1, 2, 4, 5. That's 6 bars. But gee, I thought we wanted 7 bars. Okay, so if that happens, then I guess we can't count by 40. That's too much. So let's count by maybe 37 or something instead. Well, that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bars. Interesting. 37 is still too much. So let's go group again, and we can back it off to, let's say, 36. And that should give us, did it work? Did it work? Did it work? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bars. Did I divide funny? Did I divide funny? Equals 177 divided by... Oh, I said divided by 5, didn't I? Boo! Sorry about that, folks. I thought I said 7. Let's try that again. So let's put it back to counting by 40s. And if I count by 40s, you see I still have 6 bars, yes? So let's... And why is that? It's because I dropped down to 65.5. So let's bump it up a little bit. I could bump it up to 42 width. Alright, and it's still 6 bars. Now this is where... For those of you that are perfectionists, you're going, I hate you right now, Jay. Why can't you tell me exactly what to count by? Now, the answer is I can't. Okay? This is one of those places where there is no true rhyme or reason. The rule is we usually start at a half if we have whole numbers. If we have smaller numbers like decimals like 0.1 and 0.2 and stuff, we'll drop down to 0.05s and things, which again I've mentioned already in my other video. But there's not an exact way of doing these guys. So I highlight these data, I go to Insert, Column Graph, boom. Histograms, which is what these are, need to be side by side. We want to eliminate that gap. So Format Data Series, get rid of the gap, voila. And this you see right here is a histogram. There it is. And it's fairly symmetric, although I would argue it's skewed a little bit to the right. Okay? Because there's a bigger pile on the left and it's pulled out to the right a little bit. Don't forget to label these. These are weights of in my class or some such. Okay, give it a title that makes sense to us. Okay? That's how I like to make my histograms in Excel. That's how I like to make them in Excel. Now, enough about Excel. I'm going to hit cancel on this thing here. I'm going to save it. This should help you with all of your graphs for Excel. There will be a video for those of you that like to do Google Sheets instead.